All right, so happy Thursday, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. My name's Adam.Parent. I am a real estate broker here in Maine, and I want to welcome you to Global Connections. This week, we have the wonderful Jenny Barber from North Carolina. I'm so excited to have her here just to share a little bit about her, her why, her business strategies, what's going on in her market. Because I think this is a really great place for all of us as brokers to kind of share and hear what's going on so we can better serve our clients. So thank you, Jenny, for joining us.
Thank you.
So I want to hear a little bit. My favorite thing about doing this conversation is like hearing from the agents and what's your why. We all have a reason why we're in business, and I think you've been licensed since 2006, which is great. Why did you get into the business, and has your why changed over the years?
Sure. Well, I have a background in sales, 18 years in corporate sales prior to getting into real estate. I have a love of homes. That is from a very young age. And, college took me in the transportation industry for a while. But I knew it was something I do. And I think the personal side of residential real estate is my why now. My goal is to understand what somebody meet them, exceed them, and just make the process as possible. Because we wear lots of hats as realtors. You're not only taking care of a real estate transaction, but sometimes we're a therapist too. And I actually, the emotional side of it, not everybody does, but people really come to rely on an agent if you're really caring about the people you're serving.
I would agree. Now, during your tenure, as a real estate professional, are you working both sellers and buyers, or do you kind of have an affinity towards one over the other?
I work both pretty equally, a little more listing heavy, but not by a lot.
That's great. And I would definitely agree with that. I think us, the public may think we just, help people sell a home, but I think we are, therapists, financial advisors, handy people at points. Like they really come to us for anything and everything more than just a house. And I think it's important for us as real estate agents to kind of know a little bit about everything. So that way there we can share good advice and insight on, what to happen, what to go on, how they can live their lives, etc.
Right.
Very cool. So going back like the past 2 years, I know in Maine, a common thread for the people that I've been talking to across really the country, the past 2 years were very crazy. What was your past 2 years like in your specific market?
Yeah, it was intense. Carolina has historically, been a big in-migration, but when COVID hit and people could work and live pretty much anywhere, this intensified how people use their homes. And because they did need that work from home space, a lot of times houses didn't fit their needs anymore. They changed. So we had a big demand story, as we have heard through many markets, that it competition for buyers, and it was really frustrating with buyers that would write offer after offer and not win because compete with some of the other buyers that were in the market that had more. So I am actually, even though I had a more profitable last 2 years, to have the market start is really been something.
That's amazing. So most of your buyers if they were relocating, could you pinpoint kind of where they were coming from? Were they in different parts of North Carolina or different states?
Coast.
Wow. That's crazy.
A lot of West Coast. Yeah. Can be all over, but I will say that probably I had more than other places coming in.
That's crazy.
But we
I
draw
know
people
here in
from
Maine, like,
all over.
right. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, for us in Maine too, a big part of our feeder state outside of New England is, Florida and Texas. Surprisingly, people are coming from the south all the way up north. So it's just always interesting to hear their stories and why. So that's pretty interesting to hear. As we go into 2023, what are you seeing in the market in your area? What are some of the conversations you're having with sellers, preparing them to sell? Because I think, there are some sellers that think they can get what they got, could have got a year and a half ago. So what's it like, on the ground floor on your end?
Being with arming them with the data, with the trends, right decision. My job is to give them the data and inform them to make a decision that really is not going to be in their best interest because they believe that in 6 months to a year ago. Then okay, well here's what can happen, the decision you choose to make, and are you okay with that? Because here's always, I take my emotion out of it because it's their property, but here's what, because numbers usually don't lie, but also all the information on how to have the most successful sale in the most with the least amount of stress. And I'm a big proponent of pre-inspecting your home, proponent of staging. That is a service that our team provides because for a buyer, but there's also the emotional sale, and you can't discount that threshold of a door, and a buyer feels it. It's there's a vibe, but there's a very much an emotional part of how a house feels when you walk in. Everything we can to help a seller or handle that on behalf of them, or that their home is being prepared in the best possible light, so that our results in a sale that is everyone's happy. That they didn't leave money on the table. They had the right. They were in because their house was appealing to more than one buyer.
That's awesome. That's really good. And I love that you encourage that pre-inspection piece, because I think there's a lot of merit to that. And some sellers and some agents may feel like it's not a good thing. But I'm a big fan of let's fix it now versus later if we have to. So that's a huge piece. Now, are you seeing still, like, depending on what price range is, multiple offers and, small bidding wars?
We are, particularly, if a house looks good and is priced for the market. There are houses that are still going to get multiple offers. They're still going to be desirable, but it's not every house anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's become a common theme for a lot of areas, and now buyers too. I think they can be a little bit more selective. I think the past couple of years, buyers bought out of desperation and needed a place to live, but now they can take their time, look at some options, and I think it's a healthy environment for that.
Too, and unfortunately, a lot of headlines, which our job is to the media is putting out there, and that it's still a great time to sell, and you find the house that is the right house for your family and use for you economically. Don't get mired down in the headlines, down in your perception of the change in interest rates.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, kind of, moving on to, new construction here in Maine, we've had so much new builds, pretty much all of Southern Maine, from single family homes to condos to even high rises in like our bigger cities. What's new construction been like in your market? Is that a big common piece of your business?
Are short new construction for the demand, particularly with, I will say, our downtown have really exploded with, and that is continuing to be the case. For a lot of reasons, and it works for a lot of potential buyers, but that single phase, we're still short in the inventory we have and what we need.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Now, in your area, you're centrally located, which is nice. Are there a lot of investors, short-term rentals? Is that a common theme in your area? Because here in Maine, we've always been that vacation state, but now people are like, I'm going to go stay and buy, and then buy more and rent it out. Are you seeing the similar thing?
We are. Some of the big institutional investors, the local investor that can make the numbers work, absolutely. From active, a lot of the, depending on the community, some of the HO very strict in allowing short-term rentals. So the traditional long-term rental is a strong product for an investor to invest. And depending upon, we haven't seen, the money on that, like in some areas where they've gotten really strict on short-term rentals. But we are, we have 3 major universities within 30 minutes, state government, the Research Triangle Park, a lot of business travel here. Also, people that are coming here that, want to buy, but they don't know where they want to land. They don't really want to sign a year lease for an apartment. So I think even some midterm rental options is a good, would see some investors potentially taking advantage of, and that gets around potentially some of the agents on what people consider short-term rental, which is typically less than a 30-day stay.
Okay. Very cool. Now, what about, I'm assuming since you have lack of inventory for regular, people to buy homes, same thing would it go for rentals, people looking to move to rent to that area? Are you still at a shortage there?
So, depending upon what we do have a plethora of apartments being built. So apartments, and the newer ones are, they're very expensive. It is amazing. Some of these urban kind of high-rise luxury apartments, which is a lot of what's being, depending upon, but if someone wants that single family home or a townhouse, not a traditional, apartment style, there is a shortage, going up. I think also some of the with selling a rental is if it's still tenant occupied, not a number of years, landlords haven't raised their rents very much in some of those, and the challenge is selling that tenant occupied property. Maybe they're renting it for $1,200 a month, but now the market value of the property is $300 there, and that can be a little problematic for that landlord that wants to sit in there that the lease may not expire for 6 months or so.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And we've seen a lot of that too, is, trying to price it with those low rents, we're pricing it as a what if situation of what you could get rent. And in some cases here, people are paying rent, which would be more than a mortgage. So we're having conversations about, hey, can we get you to buy instead?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, business out of the way, what do you like to do for fun? If somebody is looking to go to, Durham, North Carolina, what would you encourage people to do and explore as they're kind of navigating where they'd want to live? What's your favorite thing to do?
Oh, our restaurant scene is amazing, particularly in the Durham area. We have it's such a foodie town. I'll give you a list as long as my arm of great restaurants to go to. Parks, great greenways, great museums, a lot of cultural things here to take in and enjoy. And if you're here, we're central, and you can be 3.5 hours and you can be at the beach. You can be 3 to 3.5 hours. You can even, take a day trip. You can definitely do that in a day if you wanted to. And fun as everything is, when anything you want to do, sit on the beach or go ski, and a few hours drive.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me. For those that are watching now and later, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I would love, you can reach me, by phone, my social media. Jenny Barber Real Estate is my Instagram, and Tobacco Road Properties is our real estate team. We are in Durham, North Carolina, and all my information is linked in my bio. So would love to connect with anyone I can help.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And if you're an agent watching this and want to get involved and have this conversation with us, reach out to me, and I look forward to connecting with you. And Jenny, thank you again, and have a great 2023.